Focus shifts to other breaking developments. As the 90-hour work debate rages on, the industry leaders like Harsh Mariwala, Harsh Goenka and Rajiv Bajaj have weighed in, saying work-life balance is not optional but is essential, and working hard to succeed is not about the hours that have been clocked in by the employee, but the suggested practice of working for long hours, if at all required to be followed, must start from the top. After a nationwide backlash, L&T made an official statement saying that the nation building is at the core of its mandate and that the chairman's remarks reflect this larger ambition. During a recent employee interaction, L&T Chairman S. Subramaniam had advocated for 90-hour work week. Subramanian questioned the necessity of the timing, asking, "What do you do sitting at home? How long can you stare at your wife?" He also in fact expressed regret that he couldn't mandate Sunday work, stating that he would be happier if employees worked on weekends as he does. Following this remark, Subramaniam's remuneration, which as per the company's annual report for the year 2023 to 2024 stood at 51.05 crore rupees and was estimated at 534.57 times the median remuneration of the company's employees, which has attracted attention from netizens as well. His remarks follow a similar statement by Infosys founder Narayan Murthy, who had suggested a 70-hour work week for young professionals. Meanwhile, Bollywood actresses like Deepika Padukone have joined the issue, criticizing the L&T chairperson for the remark and ignoring the mental health, stating that it is shocking to see such senior people making these statements. A recent report by Hayes has revealed that more than 56% of the employees are willing to accept a lower paid job in exchange for a better work-life balance, yielding into better, in fact, lifestyle. It has also found that 33% of workers consider work-life balance to be the most crucial consideration when looking for a job. All right, now in fact joining me live on the broadcast is Mr. Himanshu Arora, who is the CEO and co-founder of Go Mechanics. Thank you for joining me live, sir. Appreciate you in fact joining me live on the broadcast. In fact, in this discourse of this larger debate, when we are talking about the statements that have come and clocked in at this point of time, advocating for the number of hours and the metric of number of hours pulled in the work resulting into the better productivity. Do you agree? How do you view this?
So I won't really say it's the number of hours. It's about how you do things, and I purely believe in simple ideology, right? If you're passionate of what you're doing, if you enjoy your work, you will continue to work more number of hours, right? Because then work generally doesn't feel work to you. You're basically enjoying 10 hours, 11 hours, and you're in the office. You're enjoying what you're doing, so you really don't feel that it's work. So primarily coming in from that ideology, if you are enjoying what you're doing, then you can continue to work for long hours. I truly feel that today in the startup ecosystem, it's a new normal that people have developed, that there are long working hours. We as an organization have kept 8 hours or maximum 9 hours working shifts. People who are working for those 12, 13 hours are primarily working because they are in those learning curves, that they're in their early 20s. It's their short-term learnings that they do now is when they'll be able to gain long-term, right? If you're in the initial age of your life and you think you can add some learning to your career, then why not work those extra learning? Why not add those extra learnings today so that in your 30s and your 40s, you can go easy? So it's not about number of working hours. It's about which juncture of your career you are in, which part of your professional growth you are in. And if that decides how many hours you need to put in, you decide basis that. So this is how we are looking at in our company today.
Statement where, the L&T chairperson has also very categorically advocated that the work on Sundays should also be mandated. And I see this as to be said in an area where a large section of the community of the workforce is largely underpaid and also overworked. How justified is this?
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, working on Sundays, or for that matter, working 7 days a week is definitely not encouraged in any part of the country, right? It's about your mental peace. It's about striking the balance between between your number of working days versus one day off that you want to take for yourself. So clearly, one day off is mandatory, whether it's a Sunday or it could be any other roster day, depending on which industry you are in and depending on which part of the country you are in. Depends where you are working right now, right? So primarily coming in from that logic, it's not about one day off. I truly believe that there has to be one particular day that has to be an off for an individual so that it is his time off and can truly relax during that time and then rejuvenate itself for better working hours next day. So it's not just a Sunday,
But
it's about one day off.
Mr. Arora, do you think that this is the urgent need of this time, that organizations at large stop glorifying the kind of environment they build up across the more number of hours you put in, the better results you get? Because if we also look at the work-life balance, there have been many research done, and there are people who are now coming out on social media saying that at what lengths do these founders, these managers, these people in higher industrial hierarchy force the employees to compromise on the basic life experiences?
No, absolutely, and I completely get it. Right, today it has to stop. Right, it's not about number of working hours. If you're productive for 8 hours, you can continue to work for 8 hours, do your work, and go back home. Like I said, nobody is mandated to work for 12, 14 hours. In India, if there are leaders who are talking about mandating this to about 14, 15 hours a day, I don't think that works across any sector, whether it's IT, ITH, auto, retail, anywhere, right? It's about an individual, again, how he wants to do it, right? Like I said earlier, if you're in your early 20s and you think those short-term sacrifices today can get you a long-term gain later, which is about working maybe 12 hours, 13 hours a day, and you're enjoying what you're doing and you're learning at the same time, then why not spend that extra hours today so that you can have an eased out 30s and an eased out 40s for yourself, right? India as a growing economy definitely needs some mad working hours, right? The companies that are on a growth trajectory definitely need some more hands in the system. But that doesn't mean it's one individual who has to get burnt out during those 12, 14 hours and then gets burnt out and then their overall productivity goes down. It's not about that, right? It's about an individual also, for that matter, spending 14 hours a day, but is least productive in the office at the same time. So one has to strike a balance. It's about, if you're enjoying what you're doing, then you will maybe work for 14 hours.
Mr. Arora, and in the scenario where in fact the average working hours in developed nations like China and the America are clocked at somewhere 36 or 48, we are talking about 90 hours per week in India, where there is a large workforce. There is no dearth of the workforce and the manual work. There are many job seekers than who could potentially be employed by. At the same time, don't you think there is an urgent need for the emphasis on what guidelines should also the organizations should mandate by, given the fact that there are these employees who are at the receiving end by the advocacy of all these kind of statements and remarks, and these are often in fact seen as being made very casually. So they do get to be in the main force when employees are expected to compromise on several kind of engagements in the return of something rewarding, which is not even promised at most.
Absolutely, and I can just tell you one thing, that none of the organizations that we are talking about here can ever mandate 12, 14 hours a day. If you look at their HR letter, it'll be primarily ranging between 8 to 10 hours max. And I know India primarily today, whether it's multinational companies or the startup, the same set of organization would always have this much amount of working hours, right? But as an organization, it's again up to the individual how he wants to perform, and it is up to them how they want to run the show. It's not about number of working hours, and I know it's a matter of repetition again. It's about that particular individual, how much he wants to contribute to the success of the organization. It's about that particular employee, whether he wants to work 12, 14 hours a day or not. It's not about number of working hours. It's about how much productivity that one employee can bring into that organization. I think what most of the leaders today are trying to say is that, can we bring in some extra working hours to bring in success to the organization and to bring in success to the country that they are living in today. We are a growing economy. We are unlike US, China, which is already reached as a developed nations. We're still a country that is under developing economy, and there is some extra hours that needs to go in. But that doesn't mean again that you get burnt out. And I'm again saying it's about an individual's personality, it's about an individual learning at which age that he's in. Like giving you a classic example, right? In my early 20s, I would burn some midnight oils because my immense amount of learnings happened when I spent those extra working hours. And now I'm in my mid 30s, I am putting in maybe the same 10, 11 hours, but I'm not crossing beyond that because I know that my body could only adjust to the current working hours that I'm able to do it. And there was a time when I could do about 14, 15 hours. And look at gig workers today, right? I mean, it's not just about employees. Let's talk about nation's largest population today doing gig jobs. We're still talking about desk jobs here. We're still talking about people spending 14, 15 hours on a desk job. We're talking about people who are out there. We're talking about labor who's putting in those 14, 15 hours every day, right? And they're all doing it because it's about the initial time that they want to give in like that, then eventually grow and build up more better careers for themselves.
All right, Mr. Himanshu Arora, thank you for in fact joining us live on the broadcast and putting your views on the table about what the statement by the L&T chairperson often neglecting the real world problems for the employees right now means mandating for the over 90 work hour week. This remains to be contentious and also controversial at the same time, with many issues in the world of management and corporate being neglected and also being called out by the employees. It is in fact